Welcome to episode 107. Today we're going to be talking about how to apologize to our kids and what that repair process looks like. Ashley and I will each share a parenting experience that we had. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Welcome to the Fiercely Gentle podcast.
Gentle parenting is not just about how we respond to our kids. It's also about who we are becoming as parents.
So many of us were raised in traditional homes and were taught to listen and comply. But now we want to do things differently. I'm KJ Altoff.
And I'm Ashley Kanazowicz. We're two imperfect moms trying to navigate parenting, overcome our triggers, and share what we're learning so you don't have to feel so alone.
Let's come together and learn how to become more fierce in our values so that we can stay gentle in our parenting.
This is Fiercely Gentle.
Hello, Ashley.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, just a typical day in the parenting world. How about you?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Same. We have an episode today on apologizing. We talked a little bit about it in our last episode, but this time we are going to dive in a little bit deeper on what apologizing can look and sound like to our kids, what that repair process actually looks like, especially if parents are not used to apologizing to their kids or if it just feels really hard. This is the episode that is for them. In the last episode, you had shared that it was really hard for you to apologize to your kids. Can you touch on that?
Yeah. So I did not jump into parenting as a gentle parent. I did not know that that was a thing. I didn't really have that specific parenting style in mind when I became a parent. And pretty early on, I discovered that I was going to have to apologize to my kids pretty regularly because I'm just figuring it out as I go. And naturally, mistakes happen. And in those early days, it was so hard for me to apologize to them. It just felt so uncomfortable and so foreign and like humiliating and unnatural.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because that wasn't something that I was used to
Yeah.
receiving as a child. And like even just within friendships, even as an adult within friendships, it's just hard for adults to apologize to other adults.
Yeah.
I think saying I'm sorry in general is just something that is difficult for people to do.
Yeah.
And the mindset as we were growing up was that parents don't need to apologize to their kids. The kids do what the parents say. And if the kids don't do what the parents say, then the kids are the ones who apologize. And so I'm used to apologizing to authority figures. I'm not used to apologizing to my children.
Yep.
And I noticed in myself, it just felt so uncomfortable. And so I had to make the decision to continue doing it, even though it felt uncomfortable, in the hopes that someday it would feel less straining.
Do you remember? I know, I don't know if I do, but do you have any memory of the first time you may have apologized to your kids?
I don't have the specifics, but like I do remember how it felt. And I remember like it feels like so silly now, but I remember sitting there like, just do it, just say it. Like in my head, I'm like, "You just say, I'm sorry, just say it, just say it." And like, I couldn't, like, it just wouldn't come out. And I had to like talk myself into saying, I'm sorry. And then when I finally did, I'm like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. So anyway.
But if you think about why it was hard, first of all, you've mentioned before that you are a perfectionist or a
Yep.
recovering perfectionist.
Yes, I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I'm really trying not to be.
Yeah. And would you say that you also grew up or have this fear of failure? Is that
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? Okay. So
Big
you
time.
have the perfectionist mentality, a fear of failure.
And fear of disappointing others.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also not being on the receiving end of an apology from an adult or a parent, and also not having modeled what it looks like to take accountability for your behavior as an adult.
Yeah.
Put all that together, it makes complete sense why it would feel so uncomfortable and unnatural to then apologize as a parent to young children.
Yeah, because you're not really drawing from a memory on how to do this.
Yeah.
you're like forging a new path.
Right. Because we grew up learning the lesson that parents never made mistakes, adults never made mistakes, that they were always right. By us now apologizing to our kids, not only does it go against what we've learned with the dynamics of like who should be apologizing, but also we are admitting that we screwed up, that we
Yeah.
did something imperfectly, and that we failed at something. So,
Yeah.
of course, it's going to feel super uncomfortable because no perfectionist or someone who's afraid of failing wants to admit those, especially to a young child, right?
And especially because the situation that you're apologizing for was probably a situation where you were trying to assert dominance and like
Hmm.
be the one in control and be the one who's right. And now you're
Yeah.
having to like backpedal and be like, maybe I wasn't, or maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't have.
So then why are we apologizing to our kids? Why is that important in our parenting?
For me, the reason that I really wanted to push through that discomfort and really normalize apologizing to my kids is because first of all, I wanted them to have that example. This is just something that I keep coming back to in parenting is how I just want them to feel so comfortable in their own skin. I want them to feel comfortable making mistakes. I want them to feel comfortable exploring, pushing the boundaries, figuring out who they are, messing up a little, getting a little messy in life. I feel like the best way to teach that is through example. And so
Hmm.
as a parent, if I mess things up, because like, let's be honest, none of us know exactly what we're doing. Like we are literally figuring out how to handle every situation as it comes.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna mess up. We're gonna have these messy situations. And if I can show my kids the right way to handle those so that when they're older, they feel more equipped
Hmm.
going into those situations, then that's so worth it for me to feel that humiliation and
Yeah.
apologize to better equip them for their future
Yeah.
and their parenthood even.
That's such a good point. So I want to share a story. This is a parenting event that happened years ago when my son was still in preschool and he's
Mhm.
going to be 9 next month. But it's something that I have apologized for, but my son still brings up to this day. My son was probably 3 going on 4 years old, and I was triggered by something. And I had a moment where I just could not take it anymore. And I was extremely dysregulated, and I needed a moment to myself. I needed to just get away. And I went into my bedroom, and he was following me around, and I slammed a door in his face, my bedroom door in his face. I haven't done it since then, but that was a moment that my son remembers to this day.
Mm,
It was very traumatizing for him to have that door slammed in his face, as it should be. And I
yeah.
felt so guilty, and I felt so bad for that happening. I, of course, apologized to him and made sure he knew that that wasn't okay, that I did that, and that he didn't deserve it, and that I was really sorry for doing that. We had moved on, we had the repair and we talked through it, and I hadn't done it since then. But it's something that my son still remembers to this day. He'll bring it up. He'll say, "Do you remember that time you slammed a door in my face?"
Oh,
Constantly. And instead of shutting it down and saying, "Yeah, I know, let's move on. I've already said sorry for it," I let him process it again. And I'll say, "Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. That was really scary for you, wasn't it? You didn't like that. And I'm really sorry that I did that." And I haven't done it since then because I know that that wasn't okay. And I've worked really hard to not do that again. But the fact that I was able to apologize and repair after that moment was a way for my son to feel validated in his experience instead of brushing it under the rug and just pretending like it didn't happen because I was so ashamed by it.
Hmm.
I addressed it immediately. And I made sure to validate my son's experience in that moment because I'm sure it was a really scary moment as a young 3, 4 year old. And I know that it really affected my son because of the fact that he still remembers it to this day. He
Yeah.
still brings it up. I could look at it as, well, apologizing doesn't work because he still brings it up. So clearly he hasn't forgiven me or he hasn't accepted my apology. But really, what's happening is that my son is still processing that moment because that wasn't a normal way that we would interact with each other. That wasn't
Hmm.
the norm. That was completely out of the norm. If I was the kind of parent that did that all of the time and that became my son's normal, then slamming a door wouldn't stand out to him so much because he would be used to it, which is a whole nother pattern of trauma
Hmm.
that he would have, which he doesn't have. But the fact that he still brings it up tells me that he's number one, comfortable talking to me about it, but number two,
Hmm.
that he still needs to process it. And even though it happened years ago, his brain is still developing, he's still growing, and he just needs to understand that situation from different points of development. He's
Yeah.
still remembering it, and I'm continuing to be consistent in how I respond to it by saying, yeah, you're right. That wasn't okay of me to do that. And you had every right to be afraid or to be mad that I did that. And I won't do that again because that's not how I want to treat you. So I will continue to have that conversation and continue to apologize for that until my son feels like he's been able to close the loop on processing that moment.
Yeah. You said that you validated how he was feeling after the moment, but it sounds like you're continuing to validate him. I like what you said about how when his brain reaches a new level of development, it's almost like he's reprocessing it all over again, and you are able to just keep revalidating to him that that's not the norm. That's not what should have happened. You are sorry.
Hmm.
And I almost feel like it could almost be a little comforting that he keeps revisiting the same situation because he doesn't have other situations to draw from. So it's
Hmm.
like that's his only example of when that happened, you
Right.
know? And my gosh, I have such a similar story with my kids.
Hmm.
I also was triggered by I don't even remember what at this point. And I also stomped down the hall in anger and slammed the door. And when I slammed the door, it shook the walls enough that a picture frame fell off the wall and hit the floor and shattered.
Oh no.
It was such a big moment, and I was like so horrified that not only had I like stomped and slammed, but that I
Hmm.
had actually like
No.
broken something as a result of my anger. Like now I'm the mom who has like broken a piece of the house in anger. You know what I mean? Like I was so horrified that I got rid of the picture frame. Like the picture is gone. We didn't like find a new frame or anything. Like I was just so ashamed. A little while later, I ended up putting a different picture
Hmm.
altogether in the hallway, just kind of like hoping that maybe they'd forget that that happened. And they didn't.
Hmm.
And, I apologized after and we repaired. And, mommy shouldn't have done that. And that was so scary. I'm so sorry. I'm glad nobody was hurt because like glass on the floor.
Yeah.
And they still will bring it up to this day. They'll just walk down the hall, just happy as a clam, and then look at the wall and go, "Hey, mom, do you remember that picture frame that you broke?" And I'm like, "Yes." And you do have to kind of fight this urge to be like, "Dude, I apologize. Like, I
Yeah.
feel bad enough. Like, you don't
Yeah.
need to keep bringing it up. I'm sorry. Okay."
Yeah.
You have to fight that feeling because I do beat myself. I don't currently, but I did beat myself up about it for a long time after.
Yeah.
And they just need to keep hearing it. They need to keep hearing the reassurance that that was not okay.
Yeah.
That was a scary moment for them, and it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, and it's completely healthy for them to continue asking because it's on
Yep.
their mind. If it wasn't on their mind, if they were done processing it, they wouldn't bring it up anymore.
Right.
But the fact
Right.
that
Like they're
it's
not bringing it up to like shame you.
right.
Like they're
Yeah.
not trying to be vindictive.
Yeah. It's almost like they're bringing it up because they're curious how we'll respond to it. Will the
Hmm.
story be the same? Like,
Yeah.
is their experience of what they remember and how we explained it, will it be consistent? Will it be the same? They're continuing to have this memory of a situation that maybe felt scary to them in the moment, or they felt some other strong emotion and they weren't able to fully process it in that moment. And so over the
Yeah.
span of a few years, they're slowly processing those questions they had or those feelings that they had. And by us not dismissing them or getting mad at them for continuing to bring it up, we are continuing to create that sense of safety. Like, hey, you can bring up whatever you want, whatever's on your mind, bring it
Hmm.
up. I'm a safe person for you to talk to about it,
Yeah.
even if it's something that I did that I don't feel good about. If you need to talk about it, let's talk about it.
You know, a therapist once told me that a trauma becomes a trauma when a bad thing happens and you're not able to process it.
Yeah. Yep.
Bad things can happen all the time. And if you're able to process them and heal, it doesn't become a trauma. The
Right.
only time it becomes a trauma is if it gets trapped and you're unable to process. So
Right.
the fact that
Yeah.
they're continually bringing it up means that they're naturally not allowing it to turn into a trauma. And by giving them that open space to continue to revisit, we're
Yep.
helping it not form a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And I also learned, I can't remember exactly where or who taught it to me, but I learned this concept of like continuing the story for them because what they're really looking for is like a resolution
Hmm.
because that event didn't align. It didn't make sense to them. And they're
Yeah.
trying to make it make sense. And a way that we can kind of help them get there maybe a little faster is
Yeah.
to continue the story with them. So, like by saying, yes, that did happen. Yes, that is how it made you feel. Then what happened next? And like leading them to complete the story to a point where the repair happened and they felt loved and they felt safe. And every time we continue this story to a point where they're safe in the end, it might help them process through that faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah. Because the alternative, if we didn't allow them the space to ask questions and process a situation, the alternative is that they hold on to it.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it and it goes nowhere and it just sits and
Yep.
they just continue to wonder and just have this confusion or curiosity that never gets resolved. And that's not what we want. We want our
Yeah.
kids to feel like they can ask us anything and process anything with us. That's the kind of relationship that we want to develop with them.
As an adult, how many unresolved situations do we constantly bring up in our heads from our
Right.
past? Like I can remember way back to like early childhood things that I said
Yeah.
that, made somebody angry and I'm like wishing that that didn't happen or,
Yeah,
conversations that I rehash in my brain. And so it's just natural.
for
It's
sure.
just a natural process.
And how helpful would it be to hear somebody tell us it's completely valid for you to feel that way or to have felt that way or to have thought those things?
Wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually like sit down with all of those people from our past and like have a super healthy conversation and actually resolve a lot of those issues?
That would be amazing. I
Yes.
actually, that gives me anxiety to think about that, but it'd
Because
probably
it
be,
wouldn't always go well. And
it would
so, like,
probably
we
be very
know.
healthy. Yeah, if it went
Yeah.
well.
Oh my gosh. What you just said is like so huge because if we think about confronting those unresolved situations with the people from our past, you said that it makes you feel anxious.
Yeah.
And that's because same, like I would feel so anxious if I had to like rehash these conversations with all these
Mhm.
people. And I think that's because we know that it wouldn't go well and it would be like really uncomfortable
Yeah.
and they wouldn't necessarily understand where we're coming from or validate us.
Hmm.
Which is why it's so important, I think, to have these moments of apology and repair with our kids so that they don't feel anxious when they need to talk to us about something or when a situation that we didn't handle well does
Yeah.
happen, they don't have anxiety as a result from that.
Oh, that's such a good point because you're right. My anxiety with confronting or having a conversation that I'm in with somebody that I'm in conflict with gives me anxiety because number one, I don't have a whole lot of experience in situations where that conflict resolution was successful and that I
Right?
felt safe and validated in that
Yes.
situation. And also not knowing what it's like to have a safe relationship where the other person can take ownership for their behavior versus just making me feel like I'm the problem and
Yeah.
I'm the one that is the cause of the conflict. So you're right. I think that it's so important to focus on repair because number one, not only does it help your relationship with your child, help to strengthen it, but number two, you're also teaching them these conflict resolution skills. You're teaching them what a safe relationship should feel like. You're teaching them that the only behavior they're responsible for is their own, and that in a healthy relationship, the other person should be able to take ownership for their behavior, that it's not
Mhm.
our kids' responsibility to keep us happy. And I think that having those skills and having those experiences will help them in the future have healthier relationships with other people.
Yeah, exactly. This time that we have with them while they're little in the home is when we're preparing them for their future. And so if they're able to have this like full circle of processing and repairing and coming back around and keeping that relationship healthy and intact and experiencing what a safe space does indeed look and feel like,
Hmm.
not only are they going to be more prepared for having those situations in their future, but they're also going to be more prepared to recognize when those situations are not safe
Yeah.
or when people are not healthy for them to interact with any longer. And they're going to have such a stronger like sense of self almost in what they can expect from others, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So, Ashley, after everything we've talked about today, what would you say is your biggest takeaway?
I think my biggest takeaway is that it's not about me and my uncomfortable feelings in those moments. And pushing through that discomfort is going to benefit our children and our relationships with them, but also their future. These little moments of repair are so pivotal for who they become
Hmm.
and the strength that they have going into similar experiences in the future.
Yeah, I think my takeaway is pretty much similar to yours because what you said at the end really resonated with me in that my anxiety with having confrontation with others is a direct result of me not having healthy conflict resolution skills growing up and
Yeah.
not having that modeled to me. One way that I'm able to help my son form these more healthy relationships or to be able to resolve conflict in a healthier way. I'm helping him do that by modeling how to apologize, how to take ownership for my behavior, how to communicate respectfully. Those are all skills that are going to help him in his future relationships. Thank you for listening. We're grateful to have you in this community.
Parenting this way isn't easy. We're all learning, showing up every day, reflecting, repairing, and continuing to grow.
If anything in today's conversation resonated with you, or if you have a question or topic you'd like us to talk through in future episodes, we would love to hear from you. We'll share our contact information down below in the description.
Until next time, be kind to yourself. And remember, you are a fiercely gentle parent.